Chapter 1 Jaws of Time. The air was thick with humidity, the scent of wet earth and ancient plant life clinging on to every breath. Elliot had wiped sweat off his head and stepped out of the time machine, his boots slightly sinking into the prehistoric soil. They had done it. They had traveled 66 million years into the past. Myra Patel, the biologist, gasped as she looked around. Towering tree stretched towards the sky. Darren Clark, their lead engineer, adjusted his backpack and let out a whistle. "Jesus," he said, "we actually did it." In the distance, a herd of triceratops grazed lazily near a deep river, their heads bobbing as they chewed on leaves. Above them, winged shadows drifted across the sky. Sophie Reyes, their geologist, knelt by the ground, running her fingers through the soil. The sediment layers, they match perfectly. This is the late Cretaceous, no doubt. Isaac Grant, the tech expert, stood beside the machine, tapping on it. "We have 72 hours before this thing loses power. We need to be quick." Luis Marino, the survivor expert, was the only one who didn't look amazed. "I don't like how quiet it is. Something made me watching." The others dismissed him, but he was right. They aren't alone. Chapter 2. The river turns red. Myra wandered too close to the river. She knelt and studied the thick, waxy leaves and jotting notes into her pad. The water lapped lazily beside her, the surface smooth. Then a ripple. Luis saw it first. "Myra, look out," he called. She didn't even have time to get up. Something huge launched out of the water and bit on her waist. The Mosasaurus. It pierced the flesh like paper with its teeth. Myra was dragged in the river, and the triceratops ran away. The forest was silent again. Chapter 3 Jurassic Birds. Darren had been searching for food when he heard something above him. He looked up. A shadow passed over the sun. His pulse spiked when he saw it. A Quetzalcoatlus, the largest bird ever, was circling around him. Its toothless beak was bigger than a human arm. He didn't have time to run. It flew towards him. It stabbed the beak through his chest. He was almost crying. Its beak slowly began to open, causing Darren great pain. He slid off and fell to the ground as the blood-beaked creature looked at him. Then it grabbed his neck and broke it, finally killing him. The bird lifted his lifeless body and flew him to its nest, where the others tore him limb from limb. Chapter for pack hunters. They ran to the direction of the screams, but all they found was a puddle of blood, and saw the dinosaur carrying the dead body in the air. The rest of the team was shaken up and decided to go back to the time machine in 5 minutes. Luis had his shotgun looking out for dinosaurs, kneeling behind a log, but a velociraptor came behind him and slashed his leg. He fell to the ground, and another velociraptor came and tore open his stomach. His intestines were spilling out. He grabbed his gun and shot one, but another one came and scratched his eyes, blinding him. Then the first velociraptor bit down onto his neck. After that, the best thing to ever happen to Luis happened to him, getting the gift of ending. The others hid behind a bush, watching the dinosaurs rip him apart. Chapter 5 Nightmare in the Swamp. They snuck away eventually. Sophia wanted to find a place to calm down, but she ventured too far. She found a swamp and sat by it to relax. She was really hoping a dinosaur wouldn't brutally murder her like the others. Just then she saw a long dark figure in the swamp. She leaned closer, and a giant snake The Titanoboa slithered out of the water and circled around her. The long tail wrapped around her body. She couldn't breathe, and one of her eyes fell out. She couldn't even scream. She was crying. The giant snake bit down on her head and killed her. People had been sent to search for them, so 3 guys wondered about the deadly era of land. The Titanoboa saw them, but luckily a Spinosaurus came and bit it. But they didn't stick around for the fight. They ran away and carefully crossed a very high cliff by walking across a giant log from a fallen tree. However, one of them tripped and fell to his death. The others made it across, that met a fate like the others. The Dilophosaurus slashed the throat of the guy in front, and as for the person behind, it bit his face off. Chapter 6: Final Hunt. Elliot was about to get Sophie, but he saw something in the air landing near him. When it did land, he saw it was the headless and eyeless body of Sophie. He ran back to the time machine. It was broken. It was crushed to pieces. His heart was pounding, and so was the steps of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He quickly hid behind a tree. He heard the sound it makes, and it wasn't like in the movies. It was a horrible sound, almost like a lower bird or dog sound. He could feel it in his bones. He tried to sneak away, but he stepped on a twig. He froze in fear. The T-Rex slowly walked towards that tree.